In studio, a couple of guests, one we have had a number of times and one who is kind of brand new, but they are both part of Loving Solutions. And if you don't know what that is, Dr. Nick Goeders, who is the head of, hold on a second, former Jesuit grad friend, head of pharmacology, toxicology, and neuroscience at Ochsner Health.
LSU too.
And is it still LSU to some?
It's Ochsner LSU.
Yeah.
Is LSU Health is the official name of the hospital, but the medical school is still LSU Health.
The print on your card just gets smaller and smaller and smaller as your duties expand. Now, it was about what? I'm going to assume here for part of this first segment that a lot of folks don't know about Loving Solutions and what it is and why you have literally dedicated a major portion of your life to it. The idea, the germ, the seed was something that popped into your head, what, I would bet more than 5 years ago.
That's true. I've been studying drug addiction in the laboratory for 35 years, and it wasn't, that's really impersonal when you're studying in the laboratory. And so something told me to go out and start talking to people who have struggled with drugs, especially with methamphetamine. And I kept getting letters from people in prison and rehab.
Why that drug specifically?
Oh, because it's the most dangerous drug out there. People have heard a lot about prescription drugs and opioids, and yes, there have been a lot of deaths from that. It's a very serious problem, but if you take a look at methamphetamine, it's more addicting. There's more people addicted around the world, not just in America, but in Australia, Indonesia, all over. It's a very addicting drug that seems to attract women as much as it attracts men, which makes it somewhat unusual compared to a lot of other drugs.
You made an interesting point when we were talking just a couple of seconds ago about how you went out and started talking to people who struggled with this addiction. Is there one thing that pops into your head that you learned from talking to them that you didn't know or didn't anticipate?
The one thing that sticks out in my mind was how highly connected to sexual activity it is and sexual feelings. I had no idea. I was going out to learn about how methamphetamine makes people more aggressive. And it does. People can become very aggressive when they want meth or when they're on meth. And that's what I thought I was going to learn about. But over and over again, I found out how tied it was to sex.
So here you are. You're on this pardon me, hard-working yet pretty damn cushy job. You're head of neuroscience, pharmacology at this place. But the point is, this wasn't good enough for you. What was it about all of this addiction, that literally, honest to God, kept you up at night? That said, I cannot live my life without doing something.
Well, I can tell you in all honesty, it was God touched my heart. His spirit touched me and told me, I've got to do something. I can't just sit back and say, oh, this is a big problem and just let it go. I have to do something. There was no way I could not do anything. It was, like a compulsion. But what that was God talking to me and telling me, you have the power to help. Go out there and help people. I'm giving you that power.
So you thought of Loving Solutions, which is I've said sort of a halfway, but you said,
well,
no, that's not what that is.
And this is what people who were writing to me and talking to me were telling me. They said, okay, doc, I get out of prison, I get out of rehab, then what do? I go back to where I used to live. I go around the people that I used to use drugs with. Next thing I know, I'm using drugs again. Where do I go? And I didn't have an answer for them. So we decided we would buy this house. It's a 4,000 square foot, 5-bedroom, 7-bathroom home on 12.5 acres north of Shreveport. And that we're going to provide a loving, Christ-centered environment for women who have gone through treatment and need somewhere to go to learn how to live again.
Excuse me a second. You just said we're going to buy. What you mean is you and the amazing Mrs. Goeders.
Well, yes. My wife, Linda, and I are purchasing this house. We have faith God will provide. And I'm not worrying about that mortgage hanging over my head.
To describe Loving Solutions, this house on X number of acres, Would describing it as a decompression chamber, a re-entry portal, let me know when I hit something here that rings a bell.
Let me put it to you this way. Someone who is deep into an addiction, all they're thinking about is drugs and using the drugs. They're not thinking about, well, how do I write a resume? They're not thinking about, how do I get a job? They're not thinking about, well, I need to get up at 6 in the morning to get to work on time. They've lost all of those skills. What we want to do is give them the opportunity to relearn those skills, to go out and get a job and take care of themselves, because those are skills they've lost when they've been lost in addiction.
There's a young lady in the studio who I met the other evening at your Give for Good get-together. Her name is Kelly Lovell. Welcome to Kiel. I told you when you came and sat down just by coincidence next to me at the table the other evening. I said, that was an awesome speech you just gave. I mean, it was open, it was honest, it was frank, it was absolutely amazing. When we come back, will you tell us a little bit about your struggle, about how you found Dr. Nick and Loving Solutions and what it did for you and what you're doing, how you've rebuilt your life? I hope you will.
Most certainly.